Hey, what do you say? This is Till Time with Hope. I am Hope. As always, I hope everybody that's listening is doing well. We are in almost mid May, if you can believe that, as we like to say. But today is a special day, and I know I'm still figuring out if I'm going to keep this podcast or not, due to the fact that I had planned to have people come on and be my guest and share their stories. But it's a really logistically hard to do that with people that live in other states and they have so much on their plate. And I get that. I get that so much. It is still something that I'm not going to give up on. For the most part, I'm one of those stubborn people who don't like to give up, sometimes to a fault, I will admit, but it's always for good reason. And so this is something near and dear to my heart. The whole premise of Till Time with Hope is to get out that awareness and to share stories. But if I can't have visitors, guests, if you will, come on, for now, I still want to pop in and do an episode from time to time. And I know it's been, a month, I think, since the last one. But today is a special, special, special day. Yes, every day is a special day. And every day is a day for awareness for all things. And for me, ovarian cancer awareness. However, today is May 8th. And May 8th, for those who don't know, and there are a lot of people, trust me, there are a lot of people who do not know, did not know until they were told by moi or someone else, that May 8th is World Ovarian Cancer Day. And my first experience with World Ovarian Cancer Day, because it only started in 2013, if I remember correctly, which is quite interesting because my journey, the first journey, if you will, was 2011. And in May of 2012, I was finishing up chemotherapy. And so, but May 8th, World Ovarian Cancer Day, had not yet been created. So when it came to 2013 and it was announced that there was World Ovarian Cancer Day, I was so stoked about it. And it was just something that I wanted to be a part of. Because this is the thing about yours truly is there's just so much that I want to do in this world. There's so much good and love and light that I want to pass on and be a part of in making a little dent, if you will, in this world with the things that I do in this world. And so when I heard about World Ovarian Cancer Day, I was just like, all right, I want to be a part of this. And how can I be a part of this? And I can't tell y'all enough about how supported I was when I was in Saudi Arabia. And that's another story altogether, that I was a teacher on and off for 9 years in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's something that I will always, always cherish. It's something that I never thought would ever happen, and it ended up being one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. But again, that's another story. So May 8th, 2013, I'm in Saudi. I'm at this private academy. It's a great experience to be back, right? Because I was there from 2009 to 2011, came home shortly thereafter, ended up being diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer in December of 2011. Then I went through crazy surgery, horrible, wretched chemotherapy, and then I got back on that horse, if you will, got back on that bike. And so I finished in May. Within 2 months, I was back, flying over to Saudi Arabia because I was ready to get my life going. I wasn't going to just stay at home. I wasn't going to just, even feel sorry for myself. And I'm not saying that people that go through something as horrible as cancer aren't allowed to process what they went through in the way they feel is best for them. But for me, for Hope, I knew that I had to get back at it. I needed to go back into the world and continue to have purpose. And so there I was in 2013, and I heard about this World Ovarian Cancer Day. And I was like, okay, the academy that I was at, my supervisor, the director, and my colleagues were all about helping me spread that awareness. And it just touches my heart thinking about it. That was the first time that I really got to do some advocacy. And I was already writing my book, but this was a way to give back. The book was my way of sharing my story and making it more personal, right? But this was an opportunity to very much be speaking about it. And they were on board, fully committed. My student, when I say they, I mean my students and my colleagues. But 100,000%, my students were just stoked to help me get the word out. And yes, of course, colleagues. Not all my colleagues. I mean, it's not like, with any place you work at, sometimes you're closer to some, sometimes you're not as close. But for the most part, I had a good amount of colleagues that were like, how can I help? What can I do? And we even have a picture of the colleagues. It was a small academy. It wasn't that big with staff. But I think the picture that I'm looking at right now had about 10 of us. And we have all various backgrounds. We have Americans, we have Scottish, we have Irish, I believe. We had South Africans. We had, I think, one of the teachers that I still continue to talk to today. She's from Sudan, British. Just amazing human beings that, although I don't stay in touch with a majority of them, I will always remember the time we did spend together. And that picture is like forever, right? Ingrained, carved in my heart as amazing, because they all participated. They didn't have to, but they did. Nobody made them, nobody pressured them, nobody, even paid them to participate, but they did. And I will always cherish that. And I'm so glad to have that picture in 20. But what's most important, rather, is that we got that advocacy out there. And students, of course, Saudi is not as big as America, right? America has over 300 million people, and Saudi in itself, right? Not just the city of Riyadh, which is the biggest city, which has like 9 million people. But Saudi's only like about 27 million people today. And so, and the reason I bring that up is because the prevalence of ovarian cancer isn't as big as it is there as it is in a big giant country like ours in America. So that is kind of like a factor, I think, why people don't talk about it, why they don't get that awareness, is because not as many people are getting gynecological cancers, right? Breast cancer is the biggest one all over the world. There are way more women getting breast cancer, and men, of course, that get breast cancer. And so that's why that awareness has been around for a long time, and kudos to them. While at the same time, even though the numbers may not be as big as in America or other countries, it doesn't mean we shouldn't never talk about it. And so I was so blessed and honored to be, not so much a pioneer in it, but one of the people that were talking about it. I did meet a breast cancer survivor. She's a Saudi, and she's a breast cancer survivor, and she even wrote a book herself about her journey. However, you don't hear about gynecological survivors and going through the cancer journey themselves. And so I felt, and I still believe to this day, that I was able to give a little inspiration maybe to my students. And I know that's what they felt from me, because they aren't used to meeting people who've gone through cancer and have survived. Unfortunately, a lot of them don't even want to talk about it. And there are people here in America still don't want to talk about it. But that day, on May 8th, that day, they got to have an awareness that they had never experienced. That will always be something that I can say, you know what? I don't know the good that I've done in this world. I don't know necessarily the impact that I've made that was for good, but I think I made a little bit of a good impact that day with giving that awareness, and my colleagues helping me, and my students being excited to do that as well. I was able to give knowledge, and that is something that I wish I would have gotten prior to 2011. I never heard of it. I never knew about ovarian cancer. I just was somewhat ignorant about all the things that are out there that can affect us, right? Nobody wants to think about, oh, what am I doing? I'm daydreaming about cancer. Will I ever get it? What kind of cancers are out there? I get it. We don't want to think about something like that. While at the same time, we do so much need this awareness. Yes, September is Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, but to say there is one day where the whole world should be talking about this disease, and that's pretty awesome. That's pretty dope, which is May 8th. May 8th, today, we get to talk about it all over the world. I believe there's a map that you can see of all the countries that are participating in it. And I have not looked at that map today or anytime recently. But even back in 2013, I could see that map. And there were a lot of countries that were participating, and I hope and pray that there are way more countries today that are participating in it. Men may say, well, this doesn't affect me. Yes, it does, because come on, man. There are women that you love, whether it be a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a sister, your daughter or your wife, or just a friend, right, that could be affected by this horrible, insidious disease. That's why we talk about it. That's what we need to do. We need to talk more about it. I'm a veteran. I was at the veteran hospital the other day, and they were talking about colon cancer, right? Like they had people out there, they had, pamphlets, and they wanted people to come and talk and chat. And they've done that for breast cancer. But I have yet to see gynecological cancers being spoken about. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, don't be mad about that. Do something about that. Petition that we get a moment, like find out why we're not. Find out. Sometimes it's simply because nobody said, hey, why aren't we talking about this? That's great you're doing breast cancer awareness. That's great you're doing colon cancer awareness. But where can we fit in and come to the VA hospital and talk about it? Also, I mean, when I had my friend Shannon on here, she talked about how she was bringing awareness to universities. I need to step my game up. I need to do more now that I have more downtime. I need to do that. But I don't want to get too far into that. I just want to really let y'all know. If you didn't know, now you know. Real talk. Even if it's not affecting you today, it could affect you tomorrow. Real talk, even if you don't know anybody that's gone through it, at least you know I have. Now you know somebody. And I'm here to tell you, knowledge is power and knowing is half the battle. What are the symptoms of ovarian cancer? People who have never listened to this podcast might not know that. Please, I definitely advise you to go and listen to previous episodes with my guest as they share their stories. It is not always the same. What I went through and what those that have gone through ovarian cancer or are going through ovarian cancer right now, they may not have the same symptoms that I had. Mine could have been worse. Theirs could have been worse. They could have had some that I never had. I personally had all of them. If you get a list of all the symptoms of ovarian cancer, I had all of them. I can tell you, it started off slow, right? It started off with like needing to urinate. I didn't realize it. Like I just drank some water or I drank an adult beverage or something like that. And all of a sudden I'm like, why do I have to go to the bathroom? In my little 40-year young mind, I was like, well, I guess I'm getting older and that's just what happens when we get older. My kidneys, my liver, whatever, in my brain, in my awesomely smart brain, I was just trying to I made an excuse. That's an excuse. Instead of stopping to think. And again, nobody really does that. Nobody's like, I wonder if this could be the, early stages of ovarian cancer. Of course, nobody's going to think that. That said, I don't want to scare people and think, oh, well, oh my God, that's happening to me. No, it also has to accompany other symptoms. My students used to think like, oh my God, this and this and this, and maybe I've got cancer. And I'm like, oh, no, don't think like that. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to bring awareness. While at the same time, I know it could still scare you. Scary subject. Studies I've read recently, side note, is that there are more and more people that are getting cancer and at a younger age, while at the same time, less people are dying of cancer. But here's the thing, y'all. I would rather us just not have cancer. I would rather it just be less and less people are dying and less people are getting it. But that's not the case. It's like on one side, it's like, oh, wow, that's great. Less people are dying. That's amazing. But on the other side is what? More people are getting it and younger people are getting it? That's no bueno. That's no good. But that is what's going on today. Because here's the thing. Great, less people are dying is great. But more people getting it is not great. Because I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Because you're talking about being told that you have a disease that you very well could die from. And all the things that go into that, from the possible surgeries, from the possible chemotherapy, radiation, the mental aspects of going through something so devastating. How are you going to keep your house? How are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to provide for your family when your body is going to shut down because it's going through all of these things? And that, my friends, is why we talk about it. So in the hopes that even though we don't know how to stop it from happening, we know that there are symptoms out there that you can pay attention to your body. You can listen to your body because knowledge, again, is power. So when those symptoms sneak up and start being, they used to call it the silent killer because it's so quiet when it starts. But then it starts to rage like it was for me. And it was raging, angry, loud, and I still ignored it. But if you know what to look out for, you have a better chance of having a better outcome. than so many that find out late. And you don't have to go through all of the rigorous horribleness of what it's like to go through a late stage diagnosis. That's what the awareness is for. May 8th, World Ovarian Cancer Day. September, in America, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And that's why I talk, and that's why I share. And I don't just sit down and talk to somebody and go, hey, my name is Hope. I survived ovarian cancer, so let's talk about that. No, it's something that I don't just do like that. Maybe it would be better if I did it like that. But I don't also do because I don't want it to define me, and I don't want it to be the only thing about me. There's so much more. I'm a military veteran. I'm a survivor 3 times of ovarian cancer awareness, but I was also a teacher in Saudi Arabia. I was also a jailer at the sheriff's department. There are so many things about me that I don't want to be defined by this one thing, albeit a big thing, albeit a huge part of my life. So the symptoms, let's go back to the symptoms. Again, remember, you have to have more than one symptom going on, and they have to persist for more than what they say, like 10 to 14 days. If you have a lack of appetite, feeling full after you eat, needing to urinate, and that happens, it's only like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and then it goes away. That doesn't mean you have cancer. However, if you have that needing, that urgent need to urinate, feeling full after eating just a little bit, lack of appetite, perhaps you have diarrhea. Some people have diarrhea, some people have constipation. I actually had the diarrhea. And also, in addition to all of that, right? So again, this is an urgent need to urinate, feeling full after eating a little bit, lack of appetite, diarrhea, and then my stomach started to get bigger. I did have sweats, cold sweats at night. I didn't know what that was about. I hadn't even hit menopause yet, but I still kind of made an excuse for it. I'm like, things happen. Maybe I have a cold, whatever. And unfortunately, that's what we do. We make excuses. We make excuses, and we try, whether that's because we don't want to admit that something may be wrong, which was the case for me. I was in denial, right? Hope Through Cancer, which is my first book. One of the chapters was like denial. I was in denial. I did not want to admit that there was something wrong, even though my stomach was getting bigger, even though all the symptoms were getting more and more intense. I was in denial. I didn't want to admit it because I was scared and I had fear. And that is not unusual. It's normal. We're human. The human in me, inside of me, was scared because I knew something was going on inside of my body where I wasn't able to eat. It got so bad, y'all, that my stomach had 8 liters of fluid. 8 liters. Imagine 8 liters. Just put 8 liters in front of you and imagine that's inside you. But I still didn't want to admit there was something wrong. If I would have had somebody at my high school, at the college I was at the jobs that I worked at, if somebody would have put a pamphlet, a card, if they would have done a talk or something, I know that I would have paid attention and I would have remembered what that person said. That's the importance of awareness. And I got to do that in Saudi Arabia in 2013. I got to do that in Saudi Arabia throughout the time I was there. Started in 2013 and then briefly in 2015 because I had come home to have the book that I wrote, Hope Through Cancer, because it was finished and it was time to go back to America and see how that was going to go. Yeah, and that's another subject. It didn't go so well because I didn't know how about marketing and I didn't know the process of that, of really doing my homework with finding a publisher. But it was a lesson learned and I will never regret writing that book. It's such an amazing thing to fulfill, writing something, finishing it and publishing it, and something I never in a million years would have thought I would ever do. But I'm so grateful that I did that because it was a great experience. Very cathartic as well to write all the things that I went through. But at any rate, in 2013 it was the first time. Again, that's when the first time I did World Ovarian Cancer Day. Then in 2015, when I returned to Saudi Arabia to one of the schools that I went to, even though I wasn't there very long, we did a little brief thing on ovarian cancer awareness. And then in 2017, I got to do an amazing thing at a different college. It was amazing because this college has over about 2,000 students, so it was way bigger than that little small academy that, by the way, will always be something near and dear to my heart because, man, that's where I started in Saudi and I got to spend 4 amazing years there. And I miss my students so much. But at any rate, at this other college in another city, we rocked it. We turned that college the color teal, which is the color for ovarian cancer, gynecological cancers in general. So in 2017, you couldn't go anywhere when we did this amazing thing. And I cannot express enough my gratitude with one of my colleagues who I met in the previous city. And she was the one that really got me motivated. And, we're having a little chit chat and I'm like, I want to do more. I want to do more with this life I've been given and I want to spread more awareness. And she goes, I think I can help. And she worked in the administration area and she did such a great job with helping me get it started. It was just like, I don't know, it was like in a good way. The dominoes, right? When you push on the dominoes, all of them just start falling, if you get them all lined up. And it was like that, but in the best possible way. All the classes, all the levels, the teachers, they were all about it. They came on board. And they are the reason it was such a success is because my colleagues came through, the administration to have to approve it, right? They approved that we could just really have fun with it. We raised, I think, $7,000 that we gave to the cancer foundation, the Saudi Cancer Foundation. I will say there was a problem because there was some money that ended up being stolen by one of the ladies that was in charge of security. I believe we can never prove it, but we definitely know that there was money taken from the full amount that we raised. But that doesn't matter. The fact that we did this, the fact that they came through, and there's a beautiful picture that I have of a lot of the students from the college, holding up a letter and all of it connecting together, and some of the teachers that were sitting on the floor, myself included, and it said World Ovarian Cancer Day, Khobar, Saudi Arabia, 2017. Y'all, that's just so amazing. And so all of this is to just let you know that there's such a thing as World Ovarian Cancer Day. That's what we're celebrating today. And it is something that people are like, well, what's there to celebrate? It's an ugly cancer and so many women die from it. And that is absolutely correct. It is a somber moment as well, because we have to remember that so many people die. I can't even count the women that I have met in this journey that are simply just not here anymore. But also on the other side of that coin, if you will, that is why we keep doing this. That is why we keep spreading this awareness. That's why we keep talking about it. And that's why we want you to listen and hear us and acknowledge that that this disease is serious. And that's why we continue to talk about it. Remember for yourself what this disease is. Remember the symptoms. Remember the stories. You'll know to remember, like if a friend comes up to you, if a family member comes up to you and they share with you that they're having these symptoms, you can say, you know what, I remember that Till Time with Hope podcast, or I remember that talk, or I remember that commercial, or I remember somebody bringing that up at work. I hope that we have more awareness. I hope that people with jobs, it's so simple, put a pamphlet up, ask HR, can I put a pamphlet up or a little flyer that shows the symptoms of ovarian cancer? Can we have somebody come in and talk about it, share their experience, let other women know what this disease is about? I really hope that we can do that at universities, at jobs, at the VA hospitals. Instead of just talking about certain cancers, let's talk about all of them. And for me, I would like to talk more about the ovarian cancer awareness and the need to spread that, not just on May 8th and not just in September, but always. And people might say, I'm tired of hearing about all this awareness. I'm tired of, people sharing, it scares me. I don't want to talk about it. Life is already so somewhat depressing, and the times we're living at right now, I just don't want to think about something like cancer. Trust me, I get that. But remember, I didn't want to have cancer. I would have rather somebody would have talked my ear off to let me know about their story and about the symptoms and about the things that we mustn't ignore. Because I didn't want it. I didn't ask for it. I didn't invite it. And so just remember that when you may get tired of hearing about people talk about things that are depressing or sad or just remember that. Because you never know, it might save your life, or it might save the life of somebody that you know and love. And that's what I'll leave you on. Awareness saves lives. # knowledge is power. # knowing is half the battle. And hashtag World Ovarian Cancer Day. Listen to your body, something that I did not do. I think I'm a pretty positive person, y'all, and I do my best to give good into the world. And I may miss the mark sometimes, but I do my best. I try to learn from my mistakes. All that to say is, I don't think of myself as a negative person, and I don't like to put myself down, even if I have my insecurities and things of that nature. But when I say this in a joking way, but also to let you know, don't be like Hope. Don't be a dope. Don't be like Hope. Don't be a dope. That is pertaining to not listening to your body, ignoring the signs and symptoms, and being in denial because you're scared. Don't let it get to that point where it's almost too late. And I'm not exaggerating. I was to the point where it was almost too late. Women who got to the stage where I was with 8 liters in my belly, with all the symptoms, it was bad. It was not good at all. But I didn't know. I didn't have that knowledge. I didn't have that awareness. And so if anything, let that stick in your head. Listen to the body. Know the symptoms. Don't ignore because of fear, and please don't be in denial. But my hope and my prayer is that you'll never let it get that far, because you will remember the signs, the symptoms at the beginning stages, where if anything, we cannot promise by listening to your body and knowing the symptoms that you won't get cancer. No, of course, we don't have that power. Cancer still exists, but it's about stopping it before it gets so late that you might not be able to come back from it. If you can, every year, remember May 8th is World Ovarian Cancer Day, and get on board. Go to the World Ovarian Cancer, just Google World Ovarian Cancer Day, and there's a whole website dedicated to it, giving you the information you need, sharing stories, and how you could be a part of it, maybe with your job, maybe with your university, or just having the conversation with somebody on May 8th as well as in September, because sometimes grassroots is the best way to spread that much needed awareness. But no matter what you get from this episode today, please just take care of yourself. Remember to be kind. Remember to pass on kindness. I hope you are doing well, whoever you are, wherever you are, and know that you're never alone. If you like what you hear, please leave a comment. Please hit that subscribe. Please, even give 5 stars if they do that on this. I think they do. I'm pretty sure they do. They do it on everything. And I don't know how often I'm going to do an episode, but I'm going to try to do one at least maybe once a month. And if I start to get more guests that are able to come on, that will be awesome as well. Tune in and keep an eye out for another episode. Thank you for your time. Go out and have a beautiful Mother's Day for those who have mothers and for those who are mothers. Until next time, this has been Till Time with Hope.